SNAP, IIFT, TISNET, CMAT and other important MBA entrance exams. Tips and tricks to boost score, subject-wise and chapter-wise sessions, previous year's questions, exam-related update and notifications, live exam analysis and actual questions discussion. So why wait? Subscribe to BYJU'S Exam Prep, CAT and MBA YouTube channel and press the bell icon to stay updated.
A very warm hello to everyone. Good afternoon. Dharmi, hi. Dharmi, how are you? Welcome back to the class. दोबारा मिल रहे हैं हम लोग with the new session, a new day and new excitement. So let me see how many of you are joining. Rishikesh, hi Rishikesh. Good afternoon, dear. Very good afternoon. Welcome to the class. I can see Meher, Ahuja, Mayank Chaudhary. Good afternoon. Good to see you people. All right. So quite a few have already joined. Mayank, Rishabh, Sweetie Chaudhary. Hi Sweetie, how are you? Mayank. Welcome to the class, all of you. All right. So another day, another session, another topic. My name is Pradeep Sengupta and I am your VARC mentor and your friend. We keep on meeting on this platform and it's so heartening to meet you people every day so that we get to discuss so many new topics. And as you can see, we are going to be talking about another very important aspect of the MAH CET exam, which is critical reasoning. And we are going to be talking about the strong and weak arguments and how to tackle these questions with ease and confidence. So this is going to be the topic today, strong and weak arguments, and an important part of reasoning section. Around you will find across 3 to 4 or 5 questions on strong and weak arguments. So the primary objective is to understand what an argument is, and then we will try to see how questions based on arguments can be answered with ease and confidence. All right. So let us start the day slowly. The others will join. All right. So what is an argument? Hindi mein argument ka matlab ho gaya bahas, but it is not actually bahas in English, right? We are not bickering, we are not fighting, we are not quarreling. We are actually trying to give our contention, right? We are trying to give our contention and we are trying to prove a point, right? We are trying to prove a point. That is what argument is all about. Sir, me new hai. Triveni, koi baat nahi. Sab yahan pe naye hain, purane naye milte rehte hain, so don't worry about it. Okay. So as long as we get to study something new, so it makes no difference whether you are new in the classroom or not. So when you argue, what is argument? Now if I say that there is slush all around, it might have rained, right? मैंने कहा चारों तरफ बहुत slush है, there is slush all around and it might have rained. So my argument is that since it has rained, it has caused the slush. So deep down at the back of my mind, जो मैंने नहीं कहा, something which was unsaid. What was that, right? It was rain causes slush, right? This was unsaid, no? I did not say that. but it was playing at the back of my mind that prompted me to say these two lines. Okay, so you have an argument, you have a statement over here. The first one is a statement and the second one is an argument. Now I will try to prove whether whatever I said is a strong argument or not based on my assumption, based on my inferences. Alright, so you just have to prove a point. सर आज स्टडी की गुड मार्क्स मिलेंगे, आज स्टडी की तो गुड मार्क्स मिलेंगे. ओके, स्टडी करोगे तो क्यों नहीं मिलेंगे गुड मार्क्स? बिल्कुल मिलेंगे, राइट, डेफिनेटली मिलेंगे. सोनाली, गुड इवनिंग सोनाली. सो व्हेन वी आर इवैल्यूएटिंग एन आर्गुमेंट, जब आर्गुमेंट को हम इवैल्यूएट करते हैं, देयर आर टू थिंग्स व्हिच यू मस्ट कीप इन माइंड. ओके, एंड प्लीज आस्क योरसेल्फ टू क्वेश्चंस ओवर हियर. ओके, do the premises provide enough logical support for the conclusion? जो conclusion हम draw कर रहे हैं और जो premise हमारे सामने है, इसमें से क्या enough support हमें है logical conclusion draw करने के लिए, right? And are the premises true enough? Now, what is a premise? What is a premise? A premise is a statement which is considered to be true in an argument. In a reasoning based question, any sentence, any premise is considered true, right? Please remember this, any premise is considered true, and however nonsensical the premise may sound, it has to be considered absolutely true. For example, if I say all cars are red, you might have done those syllogism questions where you might have come across such sentences. All cars are red. As long as this is a premise, right, we cannot challenge it, right? It is absolutely considered to be true. All cars are red, or all red are black. Sentences like these, right? So premise, is the premise true? Does the premise make sense? Okay, so whenever we talk about a premise, right, whenever we talk about an argument, what makes an argument valid, right? It actually tries to establish a conclusive support, right? An argument tries to provide a conclusive support. It supports, you know, the premise. If the conclusion is supported by the argument, then it is considered to be a strong argument. All right, so these are some of the points which you must keep in mind. That is number one. Now, an invalid argument, it fails to provide a conclusive support. This is just the opposite of what we have seen. अगर argument invalid होगा, right, तो वो support नहीं करेगा, वो conclude नहीं कर पाएगा, right? And we will try to understand it with the help of an example, right? Now, suppose I say Sanjeev's eyes are brown, therefore Sanjeev's eyes are colored. Sanjeev's eyes are brown, therefore Sanjeev's eyes are colored. Now, this sentence can be divided into two parts. Sanjeev's eyes are brown. Now, this is a fact, right? And hence it is called a premise, right? Sanjeev's eyes are brown, and a premise cannot be challenged. So let's say the premise is true, right? Therefore, now with this word we are trying to draw a conclusion. Sanjeev's eyes are colored. Okay, so if the premise is true, then can the conclusion be true? Is what we have to answer over here. So is this argument valid or not? All right. Now, it is absolutely impossible for the premise to be true and the conclusion to be false. The premise is true, right? Sanjeev's eyes are brown. Therefore, Sanjeev's eyes are colored because brown is a color. We can conclude that very safely. Therefore, this is a very valid argument and it is a strong argument. समझ में आया? Easy? I'm trying to give you very easy examples over here. All right. Okay. So over here, it says Sanjeev's eyes are brown, therefore Sanjeev's eyes are colored. So if the premise is possible, the conclusion is also possible. If the premise is true, the conclusion is true. So this is a very valid argument. This is one way of looking at arguments being strong or weak. All right. There is one more way to look at it. Now, let's look at this question. You have a dice. If you throw a dice, either it lands on 6 or it doesn't, right? A dice has 6 sides with 6 digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We play Ludo using dice. So if you throw a dice, either it lands on 6 or it doesn't. Very true? Yes, it's true. All right. So therefore, the dice has 50% chance of landing on 6. Now, is this argument valid or not? Is this argument valid or not? I said the premises are going to be valid. What is the premise? This is a premise, and we actually agree to what is being said. But if it is said, can the conclusion be true? Does the conclusion make any sense? There's a 50% chance of the dice landing on 6. Now let's consider, right? It's a question on probability. एक डाइस का 6 फेस होता है, right? वो किसी भी लैंड कर सकता है, right? So every time you throw a dice, there is 1/6 chance that the dice will land on 6 or not. Okay, and 1/6 is always less than 50%, right? Which means although the premise is true, but the conclusion that we are drawing is not making any sense. Yes or no? So can I say the dice has 50% chance of landing on 6? Well, you know the answer. It is an invalid argument, right? It is an invalid argument. So this argument is not strong, but it is a weak argument. समझ में आया? Easy है, right? We are getting it now. So we have seen two examples. The first example, the conclusion has to flow from the premise. If it is flowing from the premise, strong argument. If it is not flowing from the premise, it is a weak argument. All right, easy here? Okay, great going. So what do we understand by a strong argument over here? Let us see. A strong argument, it succeeds in providing probable but not conclusive logical support. All right, it succeeds in providing a conclusive support. Conclusion niklega, right? But a weak argument fails to do the same, right? A weak argument will not be able to do the same thing. All right, so keep these things in mind and apply the same thing when we are doing questions. But again, there is no hard and fast rule to solve, these strong and weak argument questions. I'll give you some situations. Suppose there is a man, Mr. X, and Mr. X teaches logical reasoning. All right, and he is in the class. He is taking up some fallacy questions and strong and weak statements. So he will try to give his best possible reason to make you understand strong and weak statement or fallacies in reasoning. All right. The same Mr. X is in a party, right? In a party, he's in a very, friendly mood, in a very amicable and joyous mood. Now, he will not apply the reasons or the concepts of strong and weak argument when he's talking to his friends. Although he may make a strong point, but that might offend others. So he will go with the flow. The same Mr. X goes to the court of law, and now he will be very careful about his pros and cons, about the arguments that he puts forth. So whenever you are solving questions, you must have a third party approach. Okay, a third party approach, right? Do not let your personal point of view influence your reasoning. गलती कहाँ पे होती है? When we try to put our personal point of view into the argument, and that's where we go wrong. All right, so let's have a very neutral stand, and we will try to test each and every argument on its own merit. All right, so are we ready to solve a few questions? Okay, here comes the first question in front of you. What does it tell you? The statement says, should private schools also implement the learning recovery programs for all students? And in the bracket, they have given you the meaning of Learning Recovery Program. It says, the Learning Recovery Program is a government initiative to help students recover from learning loss during the pandemic. Argument 1 says, yes, the program includes revision of concepts which will help students fill the learning gap that they suffered during the lockdown. And 2 says, no, the program will not be effective for students of private schools. Right? Mark A if you think only argument 1 is strong, B if argument 2 is strong, C if both arguments are strong, D if neither argument is strong, and E if either argument is strong. What is going to be your choice? Let us see. Anuja has gone with A. Sunil is saying A. Thank you. Okay. Maheshwari Bharti has keyed in A. Thank you, Maheshwari. Swagat Chaudhary says BA, Bachelor's of Arts. Okay, you have deleted the message. Sweetie says A, Swagat says A. Okay, all right. So you have keyed in, most of you have keyed in A. Let us see if A is the answer or not. All right. The answer option is A. Only one is strong. Now, let us look at the question in hand. Should private schools also implement the learning recovery program for all students? Now, also means some other schools, the government schools, might have implemented this program already. Look at the adverb also. पता लगा सकते हैं कि government school ने हो सकता है पहले से कर दिया हो, and now the private schools are also planning to do the same thing. And here they have given you what is learning recovery program. You have read it. One says yes, it supports the argument statement. The program includes revision of concepts which will help students fill the learning gap, because we have already suffered pandemics. There was a big gap in learning. So if it helps learning fill the learning gap they have suffered, so that makes the argument quite strong. It makes sense. Okay. But look at argument 2. No, the program will not be effective for students of private schools. Now, on what ground? The question is, on what ground can we say that it will not be effective for the students of private school? Okay. There is no basis to think that the program will not be effective. That is why 2 does not hold water. It is not effective. So we are going to go with A if only one is strong. And in this case, argument 1 is a very strong argument. Okay. So the first question, easily done. Easy. दिमाग पे जोर बिल्कुल नहीं पड़ा. Logic बिल्कुल ठीक जगह पे काम कर रहा है. On that note, let us move to the next question. Question number 2. All right. Should the government make cycling to office mandatory for those living within a 5-kilometer radius of their workplace? One says yes. It is a natural choice for exercise and fitness and the safest option in the present situation of social distancing. 2 says no. Most places in the country do not have proper roads and infrastructure such as dedicated cycling lanes, and so cycling in traffic is dangerous. Let's see which option are we going to mark. Rishikesh has keyed in C. Thank you, Rishikesh. Anuja says C. Thank you, Anuja. Sanil says C. Okay. Okay, Meher says C, thank you. All right, let us see what is the contention here. What is the contention? The contention is, should the government make cycling to office mandatory? For whom? For those living within 5 kilometers radius of their workplace. Should they make it mandatory? Now, at the very first instance, right, when you look at the sentence, and if I am a government employee or if I am a normal Indian citizen, I would look at it from a different perspective. Why should the government make it mandatory? Now, when I say why should the government make it mandatory, now I am thinking from my own point of view. Okay, my personal argument comes to the fore, and that actually attacks the government's mood over here. But look at one. It says yes. Now, from the third party objective, okay, yes, a natural choice for exercise and fitness, especially in the present situation of social distancing. Now, had this point not been mentioned, right, you could have decided, something else. You could have gone with something else. But it makes sense over here. It is very practical to think of, in the time of social distancing, this looks to be quite a viable option, right? Quite a strong and sensible option. It's a natural choice for exercise, especially during social distancing. So one makes sense, yes. Two says no. Most places in the country do not have proper roads and infrastructure, such as dedicated cycling lanes, and so cycling in traffic is dangerous. Even this is a very valid point. Okay, the distance does not make a difference over here, right? What if the proper infrastructure is missing? What if cycling to office, even somebody is living at as close as say 2 kilometers from the office? So if the proper infrastructure and the proper facilities are missing, that means it will become a very, very dangerous proposition. So one makes sense, yes. Two also makes sense. So both are valid statements, and that is why we are going to stick to C. Both arguments are strong. Swagat says, but walking is also a better exercise. I completely agree with you, Swagat. Walking is a better exercise. But is the question talking about walking? Does the question talk about walking? Okay, it's a new chapter being included. It's a new angle being introduced in the question. Although you are right, but this is not what we are talking. So, how do we say that your option is not right? I will not say not right. Your option cannot be considered because it is beyond the scope of the discussion. Although you make sense, but it is beyond the scope of discussion. I hope that is understood. Okay, so for question number 2, the answer was C. Moving on to the next question quickly. So far, so good. 3 says, should municipal authorities be punished with termination of jobs or suspension for the poor maintenance of roads and public facilities? 1 says, yes, they will not work otherwise. 2, no, but a better system of accountability must be put in place to ensure that the municipal authorities work efficiently. Just a humble reminder, all those who are watching the class, please make sure that you like the session. So it fills us with inspiration and motivates us to get to you the best of the content. Subscribe to our channel BYJU'S Exam Prep and do like the session. Thank you. क्या आंसर होगा? Okay. So quite a few of you have gone with B. Yash has gone with C. Aruna. Okay. Rosianne, if I'm pronouncing your name all right. B. Sonali says B. Thank you. Dharmi says B. All right. Okay. Let's look at the question now very quickly. The question says, should municipal authorities be punished with termination of jobs? Quite a strong statement being passed. Punished with termination of jobs or suspension for the poor maintenance of roads and public facilities. Okay, should you suspend them or should you terminate their jobs? Who are these guys? They are the municipal authorities. Okay, one says yes, they will not work otherwise. They will not work otherwise. All right. And two says no, but a better system of accountability must be put in place to ensure that the municipal authorities work efficiently. Now, when you bring in the punishment quotient in place and when the punishment is too extreme, there are many ways to teach, the authorities the lesson. You can go on strike, you can, talk to them, you can question their activities, right? And you can definitely, go against them, in a very honest way so that they can understand that they have a duty, they have their duties to perform. But termination of job or suspension, right? Don't you think this is too extreme? They will not work otherwise. So it's a tit for tat attitude. It's a tit for tat attitude. Okay, either you perform or you perish. Go. Two says no, a better system of accountability must be put in place to ensure that the municipal authorities work efficiently. It is always better to have a system in place and ensure the smooth running of the organization, right? So that is why for this particular question, B is a strong argument, okay, but one is not strong, it is extreme, okay, and that is why it is slightly, away from making a good sense. So we will definitely go without one and we will go with two. B should be the right answer, okay. So most of you have answered it fine. It's Rose with Anne, Roseanne. Thank you, Roseanne. Okay, so I'll call you Roseanne now. All right, let's look at the fourth question very quickly. तुम US मत जाओ. Should people stop emigrating to the US in view of the racial violence? Quite a pertinent question being asked over here. But let's look at the arguments. It says yes, when foreigners, especially Asians, do not go to the US, racial intolerance will decrease and there will be less violence and fewer killings. 2 says, no, we must allow everyone to carry guns and protect themselves. Let's see. All right, so most of you have keyed in D. Aruna, Rishikesh, Rose Ann, okay. Yash, Sweetie, Dharmi, Anuja, thank you very much. All of you have marked D. What was the question at hand? The question was, should people stop emigrating to the US in view of racial violence? The US has invariably been, one of the favorite destination for the students and the working professionals. They all want to migrate to the US. Okay, but what do we do about this racial violence nonsense? Right? Should we stop going to the US or should people, the Asians, stop going to the US just because of this one issue? It's just like, oxygen kills us slowly, but still we breathe. We don't stop breathing. Similarly, although there is racial violence, and violence in any form is bad, but it is present in, different forms in different places. Okay, and India is no exception, and so are the other Asian nations. So US also is grappling with another sort of problem, which is racial violence. One says, yes, please don't go to US. Should they stop emigrating to the US? Yes, stop emigrating to US. When foreigners, especially Asians, do not go to the US, racial tolerance will decrease. Now, please understand, okay? There is something very technical about strong and weak argument. Anything which has will, as the beginning, or will is present, means future tense. Okay, future tense means prediction. Any prediction cannot be weak or strong. Okay, will decrease. This is nothing but a prediction. It has got nothing to do with the argument being strong or weak. Also, it does not make any sense. Just by not going to the US is not a guarantee that there will be a slowdown in violence. It is not a guarantee. So this is definitely not a strong statement. Okay, and this is pretty dangerous. Okay, money begets money, violence begets violence. You carry guns and protect themselves when you go to the US. Does it make any sense? Absolutely no. So both the sentences are not strong, hence D should be the answer. Most of you have answered D, and that is the right answer. Great going, congratulations. Okay, moving on to the fifth question very quickly. Okay, let's read 5. Okay, what does the question tell us? The question says, is the cricket craze in India working to the detriment of all other sports? One says yes. Because of the monopoly of cricket, youngsters are not playing other sports in India, and India lags behind in all sports. 2 says, no, cricket deserves the money and publicity it is getting. All right, it's C, A, D, D, all right. Dharmi says D, Swagat says D, D, all right, okay. This is a pretty interesting question, right? 5 says, is the cricket craze in India working to the detriment of all other sports? Working to the detriment of all other sports, right? Okay. Talking about India in particular, right? Is it damaging all other sports? One says yes, because of the monopoly of cricket, right? Youngsters are not playing other sports, and India lags behind in all sports apart from cricket. Okay, now this sounds true to some extent. Okay, this sounds true to some extent. Although we have had, wonderful achievements in badminton recently, you might have seen the news and all. In football also, we are trying our level best to compete with, among the Asian countries, but we lag, far behind. Let's not talk about FIFA also. We are nowhere near FIFA. All right. Uh, so in a way, if you look at this question from a broader perspective, you will notice that let's answer this, let's form questions. Does cricket enjoy monopoly in India? Yes, it does, right? And how many youngsters would prefer, cricket, would prefer hockey or football to cricket? There are quite a few, and you can definitely see the facts and figures. The numbers, they speak volume. However much we try to explain that no, this is not the case, but if you see, we have had a dismal numbers going into, other fields. For example, track and field or kho or volleyball or all these sports, right? Why? Because cricket has a monopoly and India goes crazy about cricket, crazy for cricket. Because India is what we are talking about, not the other countries, right? To some extent, this holds true. Two says no. Cricket craze in India is working to the detriment. No. Cricket deserves the money and publicity it is getting. Now, when you use the word deserves, okay, right from 1983 and previously to this day, right, we have seen many crest and trough in cricket. You remember the betting scandal that tarnished the image of the Indians, on the world platform, right? But we have had our ups and downs in crickets, right, in India, and cricket is where it is supposed to be. So no wonder, they celebrate the money and publicity that they have today. They deserve every bit of it. We have left England behind, we have left Australia behind, we have left all the countries behind. Okay, look at the craze of IPL, right? All over India. So one is kind of strong in its own merit. Two is also kind of strong in its own merit, right? Now, over here, getting personal is absolutely easy. You can get personal over here. Since one is strong, in other way, it is impacting this, statement in a different way. Two is also strong, makes sense, and it is impacting this statement in a different way, right? That is why for this question, the answer should have been either of the arguments is strong. It is not, both of them are strong. It is not weak. They are not weak arguments. Both of them are strong, but in their own way. So understand, there's a difference between both and either. When you say both, they work towards the same cause. But when you say either, they are strong, but they have different causes. All right. So that was question number 5 for us, guys. It was a bit tricky, and no wonder why we got those mixed responses. Okay. That was question number 5 for us. Let's look at question number 6 very quickly. So what is the question? Should religious meetings and congregations means gatherings, okay, be banned? One says yes, they are often the cause of communal riots and violence. And 2 says no, religious freedom has been guaranteed by the Constitution and a blanket ban on religious meeting is not feasible or practical. Okay, B, 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 E, B, E. So I think there is so most of you have gone with B. Roseanne has gone up with E. All right. Swagat says B. Aruna says B. All right. Okay. So what is the question, guys? Let's look at the question. Religious meetings and congregations, should it be banned? One says yes. They are often cause of communal riots. Right? Religious meetings and congregations are causes of communal riots and violence. Okay? People have been gathering at the Vatican. People have been gathering at so many Hindu shrines and Muslim shrines, and for since time immemorial. So these gatherings have been a part of our social fabric. Okay? So how many times have we seen these gatherings and meetings transfiguring into communal riots or chaos? Right? There are one odd cases and most of them are blown out of proportion, you know that. All right. So one, does it hold water? Two says no, don't ban them because religious freedom has been guaranteed by the Constitution. Okay. And a blanket ban on religious meeting is not feasible or practical. Okay. Blanket ban means a ban that affects all and sundry. Okay. A ban that affects everyone. So two is against the ban on religious meetings and congregations. Why? Because the Constitution gives us a religious freedom, okay, to follow any religion that we feel like following, and meetings and congregations are allowed. So two is very strong. Yes. But one talks about religious meetings and congregations giving rise to communal riots. So this will not go down well with all the people who follow different, who have different religious beliefs. So this is too extreme a proposition. One. That is why the answer should be B if only argument 2 is strong. Okay. 1 is not, 2 definitely makes sense. So that was question number 6 for us. Most of you have answered B. Congratulations. So far so good, and most of you have been answering pretty correctly. Consistently correct answers I have been getting. That's wonderful. Okay, the next question. Be very careful with this question. Should exports of rice and wheat be banned to check inflation? Anuja has keyed in C. Thank you, Anuja. Vicky says A. Thank you, Vicky. Abhijit says C. All right, Abhijit. Thanks a lot. Swagat also says C. Om has marked D. All right. Okay. Roseanne has marked C also. Thank you, Roseanne. Let's look at the question now. Should exports of rice and wheat be banned to check inflation? Okay. So deep down, the writer of this statement, he believes that inflation is, the result of the exports of rice and wheat. Why? Because scarcity or lack or want, right, results in inflation or price rise. Okay. So less of supply within our own country, so inflation rate will go up. One says yes, it should be banned. Why? One of the effective ways to rein in, to control inflation, is to stop export of food grains It has proved successful in the past. Okay. 2 says, yes, a ban on export of food grains will help counter the lower yield of grains this year. Right? If you look at both these statements, they make sense in different ways. And they are actually talking about putting a ban on exports. It says was, yes, one of the effective ways. Why? Because it has proven successful in the past, right? So when you put a ban, and this is one of the ways to rein in inflation. So you can take precedents from the past and check inflation by doing something what has been effective in the past, okay, using the economic tools. 2 says, yes, a ban on export will help counter the lower yield. Yes, if the country has, is suffering from lower productivity of grains, then putting a ban on export will definitely help counter the lower yield. So both these options make sense. Hence, your answer should be C. Both the arguments are strong, right? 1 is strong, 2 is strong, and both of them are dedicated to one cause, that is checking inflation in the country. And both these are helping to check inflation in the country. That's why C should have been the right answer. All right. Okay. This was an easy one. Let's look at question number 8. Should India emulate China and ban private tuitions and tutoring institutions? Om says the first argument seems to be extreme. Om, are you referring to question number 8 or the previous question, Om? Vicky has pointed out it is going to be D. All right. Vicky, thank you. Stanil says D. Roseanne has marked A. Dharmi has marked D. All right. Okay, let us look at 8 and let us put things in perspective. Should India emulate China and ban private tuitions and tutoring institutions? So it is asking to put a ban on coaching institutes and private tuitions. Emulate means copy. Okay. To copy something positively, because emulate is a very positive word. All right. To take a leaf out of somebody's book. Right? Imitate is wrong, emulate is fine. So over here we are talking about India emulating China on what? Putting a ban on private tuitions and tutoring institutions. 1 says yes, it has helped ease the financial burden of students and parents in China. 2 says no, there are many other illegal activities going on in the country that need to be banned first. Now, talking about 2, does it address the issue at hand? Does it address the issue, yes or no? You know the answer. No, we are not addressing the issue. We are talking about something else. Okay. 1 says it has helped ease the financial burden of the students and parents in China. So what is effective in China, can we say for sure that it is going to be effective in India also, right? Can we be very sure about it? We cannot be sure about it. So what has happened in China, right, does not necessarily have any bearing on the Indian construct of the society, the Indian society. So 2 talks about China, and we cannot say that it is going to be efficacious or effective in India also. 2 talks about an absolutely different issue. That is why your answer should have been neither argument is strong. Alright, that was D. D should have been the option over here. Alright, so we have seen quite a few questions today based on strong and weak arguments. I hope you have understood the concepts, and now the idea is to practice some more questions from your previous year papers on strong and weak arguments, because practice will make you perfect and put your logic at the right place. So such questions must be practiced day in and day out. All right. So this brings us to the end of today's session. I hope you have followed whatever we had to discuss. We have had a wonderful discussion, right? In my next session, I will be bringing to you a session on course of action, right? Don't miss that session so that we can meet once again and discuss something new, and we will be talking about the course of action. All right. Some information for the students who are going to take CAT 2022 next year, who are targeting CAT, please join us. The batches have been enrolled. The comprehensive program on CAT 22 has been launched. Enroll. These are the features. And if you have any queries, don't forget to call on the given numbers or write into us on the given email. All right. Please like the session, comment if you have liked it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to BYJU'S Exam Prep. So on this note, also follow us on Insta, YouTube. हम मिलते रहते हैं, कल भी मिलेंगे, right? Follow us on Facebook and join our Telegram group. That is very important. Join us, okay? And download the app from Google Play. Do subscribe the channel, press the bell icon, and get all the notifications that you require. All right. On that note, thank you so much. This is Pradeep Sengupta signing off, on the note that we are going to meet very soon with a new content and new topic. Thank you very much, and all the very best.